Hi everybody, my subject for critical review today is a scratch logo WWF Big Eagle in the style of Jamar. According to the correspondence that I've had, this represents version 5, which is the same belt style as version 4, except with an extra set of snaps in the female snap box, like there. This is 2x6 instead of 2x5. This specimen is made by Altair Belts, as I've written in the description and the title. Altair Belts is run by Ali Anas, A-N-A-S, and this belt was up at a very steep discount for sale because of some flaws that I will go over in my critical review. First thing that stands out about this is the tooling of the strap. It is laser cut and hand tooled. You see inside the snap box there's a slight texturing, which may or may not reflect how Joe Marshall actually did the real belt. Got our side plates there with texturing inside the shields. We've got our main plate with the big eagle and the globe and the World Wrestling Federation champion text. The sidebars are painted, not cut. We've got our Jamar 2K property plate as well. The leather drops down nicely. It's flexible. Take a look at the backing. You see it's cut nicely. There are no tears. There are no bubbles. It appears to not be nice and flat across. One thing that's noticeable about this belt that kind of contributes to its imperfections is the very steep curve. This belt is obscenely curved, almost bent. You could put it on top of your head and balance it quite easily. So that over-the-top curve, and we've also got some damage to the strap here, possibly from shipping. You see those little dings across the bottom. That does happen from time to time. But let's go over some of the components of this title with critical detail. Overall, it's a beautiful belt. A lot of hard work went into it, and unfortunately that hard work had no premium price. Now, let's talk about the texturing inside the strap. You can kind of see the slight texture there. Look at that. Goes across the snap box. You can't tell from 5 feet away whether or not anything's done to it, but as you look across the bevel lines, you can kind of see there's something going on there. Some terms of the trade, these little hatchet lines by the border, that is called beveling. That is done by a tool and a hammer strike. And the round edges on the outside of the strap, that is called burnishing. So a strap that is properly burnished and beveled is uncommon in a belt from Pakistan, but can be done. The texturing inside the side plates is done by hand. You can see that each individual mark is made with a tool, be it a Dremel or perhaps in Pakistan they still use a hammer and nails, but lots of effort goes into that. And if we look at the next side plate here, if our etching was done properly, that would be legible and that would be Latin, but that is not the case. Anytime you get a belt made in Pakistan, you get etching where it's basically a roll of the dice. We're looking at the wing details right now, and this is the major part of the discount right here. On the lower part of the Eagle's wing, you can see the details have completely washed away. Now, whether that's a result of cheap recycled materials, of obsolete procedure, or lackluster handling, these are the things that tend to happen with a Pakistan-made belt. If they don't have nice, clean, new zinc, or they don't polish properly, or if just the acid is old and terrible, you will get these slight imperfections, and some are less noticeable than others. Nevertheless, this is really a top quality crafted belt. It's just not made 100% to a nice finish. So the artist that did this, I think, is very capable, but the limitations are in the equipment and procedure. Let's take a look at paint application. Now, when you have this quote-unquote SD product, paint can be your friend. Your paint application can act as a self-leveler. So with a belt like the Smoking Skull that has a lot of paint, I think you're safer getting a cheaper version of that. Take a look at this. The registered trademark circle is painted beautifully, and it's microscopically small. I'm impressed by that. So that is the Big Eagle with the steep curve and the flawed etching in the wing. Now coming back to this strap, because, I mean, you can tell by the touch that the texture is there. When you're right on top of it, you can see that it differs from the untooled portion of the strap. Right across the bevel line there's a nice contrast. But if you back up away from the belt at all, you can't tell the difference at all. So, in my honest opinion, I think it's nearly impossible to tell off a screen grab from a 90s piece of footage whether or not that texture existed on the belt. Maybe it did. Who am I to say? This one has that texture. So whether or not that's accurate to the original is anybody's guess. But I think we've got a nice piece of work here by a young belt maker who is studying the craft and working very hard to become a true artist in the game. As you see, the snaps line up quite nicely. It all comes together. It hangs. Some of the belt purists out there will say that laser cut leather is cheating. I think it's just a shortcut. And for what I was fortunate to be able to pick up at basically cost is a specimen from a promising young belt maker. Thank you guys for being with me.